Oh, all right. Let's jump into things. Where we are, 11:32. So back to these late night reviews for the weekend wrap. But as always, so it's sort of like it's mainly just a point of getting it done prior to the markets opening on that Monday. But particularly at the moment, so many things are happening in that. So where are we actually? This is the 2nd of Feb. So we just ticked over, obviously, new month, and we're into Feb now. The first yesterday was when all these tariffs and everything supposed to be coming into place. And yeah, it looks like they've sort of gone ahead with it all. And look, I'm sure a lot of people have been covering this thing, and the last couple of sessions has just been an absolute, lack of a better word, shit show for the price action. This is on the 4 hour here, but we were getting sort of like moves like where are we at? This is 30 minutes, so this is just towards the end here. It would have been this candle here, sort of like as a technical sort of move, okay, broke higher, come dribbling back down, more or less as you can see through a bit of a kind of a range here, broke out, tried to hold out, smack back down. This move just down here, whether it was this candle started, it must have been one of these ones over here. Of course, this is at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, so for local time in Melbourne. So, what I mean, that's uh, I was asleep. So I missed this one. I actually missed the whole sort of debacle with it all, which is a little bit frustrating because I did have some positions on. I hit some TPs with these things, but then of course, things reverse right out. But the point being is that we had all these headlines come out, like from Reuters, saying the tariffs are going to be pushed back to March, and market just goes boom, dumps it down. An hour later, so it must have been this is a 30-minute candle, must have been around this point over here. I don't know. But then sort of I woke up, I was watching Aussie, and 2 minutes before Trump or someone from the White House had come out and said, "Look, that's not true." Straight back up. It was just absolutely all over the place. Like, it's one of these things, sort of like when you hear these sort of people go and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's sources close to the whatever, man." That's Chinese whispers, man. That's not the way to trade, or it's not the way the thing should be traded. There's no, that's like playing bingo. And I said this on the night as well, maybe in that morning, Saturday morning for us, that it's like a cross between Chinese whispers and bingo. Oh, I hope my number comes up. I hope they sort of utter the magic words, whether it's true or not. You know what I mean? Like the market reacts to it. Coming down, boom, market bang, straight back up. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Just having a look at this, as I said, this megaphone diamond thing that we were trading through the week, which obviously, as I said at the time, I'm not a big fan of these. I mean, technically they're supposed to be reversals, but as you can see, fired up, sold into, sold into, sold into. But look, all in all, if we sort of take a bit of a step back, the dollar's on a bit of a push here because this is the channel that I was trying to sort of play off. Come down here, come up test the top side of the channel over here, perfect touches through here, smack back down, hit the bottom, up here, hit the top, looked like it was coming down, and at this point through here, I mean, this is where I was saying that the bias would be, and this is where I was sort of targeting through the week. Got within a couple of points, which is, a pretty decent little trade through there, to hitting that, and it just exploded back, and as you can see, that wick there is kind of, I think, sums up that move. Sold down. Oh, hold on, wait, no, they're lying. Bang, move back up. So if we look at this just on a pure sort of technical basis, you know what I mean? We've got a little bit of a channel coming down here. We've got a couple of touches, 3, 4 touches through here. It's pushed out to the top side. So look, it's coming to exactly where we kind of have it marked out. You know what I mean? There's an exchange where it's been sort of resistance, used as a launch pad for support, more or less came to support here, boom, 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 boom. So it's come up as to where we think it will happen. So you got to sort of think like, with all these sort of things, it's not like sort of shock news. It's not like, okay, like if we get back onto the lower time frame again, this kind of stuff here, that's shock news because it's like the market's pricing for tariffs first of February. Then hold on, wait, it's going to March, so it shocks and it just dumps. Then hold on, wait, no, it is actually still happening in February, so it shocks and sort of moves back up here. They're the kind of moves in that. So this whole sort of grind up along here, this is sort of basically the market digesting and pricing in what's going to happen. There's a chance that, it may not actually come to this, like I mean, we saw how long that Colombia thing sort of lasted. True, it's a different scenario, But the point is, it's like, this is Trump stepping in to the new role, and he's sort of enacting these executive orders and sort of following through, which is a very rare thing for a lot of these people, following through on what he said. So they're digesting whether it's going to go through or not. And then obviously, yes, when it's not happening, it is happening. Okay, yes, it's definitely happening coming into the weekend. So look, we saw that. If we sort of drag this through, we sort of think, okay, where's it going to come? So these are the kind of levels where we're sort of looking above, where we've seen things happen prior, maybe not so much this level for now. These are the kind of areas that we could sort of see things move towards, and probably, I would dare say, sooner rather than later, because as of recording now, 11:30 on the Sunday evening, and that we've seen a little bit of responses through today of Canada and a bit, I guess, a couple of words from China and Mexico in regards to this. And so they've sort of fired back. So Canada has Trudeau or whatever his name is. I thought this guy packed it in. So I don't know. Obviously he's still in the top job for there, but who knows? Whatever. Who cares? Point being is he's fired back and he's like, "Yep, cool. Going to slap 25% tariffs on a bunch of different products, blah 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 blah," and that's starting Tuesday, the 4th. So there's still a tiny little window that the retaliation, like the as of yesterday, so the first, the US tariffs have been sort of initiated and sort of gone in. Um, Always paranoid about this sound cutting out like I did on the other video. Anyway, the US tariffs have gone in. You've got a window between now and Tuesday where Canada may not fire back. Well, they could come to some sort of resolution, which may not affect the markets as much. I don't really typically go off like the weekend sort of trading things, but I think if you sort of bear with 1 sec. No, I was trying to find these sort of weekend price. So I don't typically go off the sort of weekend prices because I think that's mainly just like a more a market for degenerates for the need to sort of trade over the weekend. But they do sort of show implied sort of positions for like sort of gaps for come sort of Monday morning. Um, Typically they're not pretty much moved at all. They're like 0.07%. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I mean, just it's not even worth checking. You look at it and go, okay, has anything happened? No, 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 no. This time they're almost at like over, 0.75%, 0.7, 0.8%, which implies that we're going to be getting some pretty big gaps over the weekend. Because I think sort of still that there was still some sort of hope in the market that they may sort of reach some sort of resolution and he wouldn't have to enact these things. Look, honestly, it's not my wheelhouse of stuff, and I don't know why they wouldn't just go, okay, yeah, fine, let's come to some sort of negotiation. But obviously, Trump's come out hard with this. It's 10% on China, it's 25% on Canada, 25% on Mexico, and to be announced on Europe. So, nothing's come of it as of yet in terms of resolution. 25% is the sort of the slap back from Canada come Tuesday. So there's still a window in which things could be resolved before they start to sort of go for a tit for tat kind of little trade war thing going there. Mexico as well, I think they did also sort of say that they're going to sort of be sort of imposing some retaliatory tariffs. But the president there did say that they would rather, obviously get to the negotiation table. So they want to resolve these things. They don't want to go, well, you're going to do that, we're going to do this. Like they've got a common goal, yes. They just need to sort of work out how to best sort of suit both sides with it all. Obviously, the big issues, for at least for Mexico, are the sort of drugs coming through there, and also the uh, illegal immigrants and all this kind of sort of stuff. So those headlines, if you see them coming out or popping out, they're the things that are going to start to sort of see, okay, fast moves in action with the market. But as it is at the moment, I expect us probably to have a fairly chunky sort of gap up, which means gaps down on, Aussie, probably sort of copper as well, I would say. I'm not 100% sure on gold. That looked relatively flat. Again, I feel in this kind of environment, sort of gold with a sort of higher tariff scenario would actually people would be going, okay, well, hold on, wait, let's go for gold a little bit here as well. But the general sort of like market sort of spread consensus is that tariffs are going to come in, and it's going to sort of cause more inflation. More inflation. Well, they're going to have to combat that with higher tariffs, or tariffs are higher for longer. Hence why US dollar is catching a bid on this. I think sort of like there's arguments for both sides of this because I was talking to a mate earlier, made a very good sort of point about the idea that potentially sort of like, in terms of sort of food exports and that, that they could, if they can't sort of sell these things off, that then they'd have more supply than they're using in local. I'm very much summarizing sort of what I sort of heard here. And the idea is then basically oversupply. Well, obviously oversupply means that you're going to have to sort of bring the prices down on the locally produced products and that. And it's not just all about, Chinese manufactured cars and things to this sort of effect with the tariffs. So, if they sort of using something a little bit more homegrown, they've got more sort of supply on it. Well, in theory, I guess that's what it was. It was the price sort of coming down. I just heard this from a mate, so I don't actually have a complete in-depth take on it. But as I said, I think there's arguments for both sides, and I think it's one of these things where people love to just say something, and so you get so many people trumpeting the same outcome. They're like, oh yeah, tariffs are going to come in. It's actually going to go prices up. Trump's an idiot. Okay, well, that's great. But my take on this is let's see how the market digests it. It could very well open up here. I think this is probably an area we're probably going to be opening around, maybe 820. Maybe move up in that to in this sort of like 109 area. As to what it does there, I think maybe sort of at some point, maybe a push, and then maybe comes back down a little bit. Um, Again, it's not a shock. It's not like, oh, wow, tariffs, they came out of the blue. If it was a shock that the tariffs came out of the blue, bank goes up like this. But, it has been pricing it, particularly for the last week, as this move has sort of been coming up, back up through here, even with this gap that we had here, which still didn't quite close. So anyway, that's a bit of a sort of broader idea about what I'm sort of feeling about sort of the market and DXY at the moment. Look, we got a little in terms of the straight technicals. We do have a little bit of a level just in here. Let's make this one a little bit of a small one. I'll steal this and bring it over. Put you at the top of the wicks. Could provide a decent area for us probably to open around. Where's that little thing? So have a look around this area for open. Look, if we get a big shock open, we open up at say 109 or something like this, I don't think we necessarily will. I think that's going to be crazy sort of stuff, and I think you're going to see a lot of panic in the markets. I think we're already seeing big gaps down, as I said. Probably implied gap is going to be there for Aussie. Haven't actually got any data for that, but other equity markets like the sort of US markets and Nasdaq and that, they were looking a little bit worse earlier. Nasdaq down around 300 points implied, and I think last I checked, I should probably have a look on here. So it comes up here. What are we at? 10 points. Is this right? Let me double check this one. All right, and back on that. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what that one was showing just 2 seconds ago, but I do have them here on another screen, which we can grab across. And we are looking at this lot just here. So as you can see at the moment, looking at 1% sort of drop off on Nasdaq and that, and then the rest Wall Street 75, 75 points, 0.75% kind of thing. So look, everything's looking pretty red through here. Gold, as I said, mainly flat. As to sort of what happens as before now and open, well, it'll be interesting to sort of come back and have a look at this sort of piece. Whoops, we've lost everything. All right, and yeah, we're back again. So anyway, look, long story short, I think we're going to be seeing a bit of a gap up on the open. Now, as to sort of where we move from here, as I said, we've got to see if there's any sort of news that starts to come out, headlines. Things, as I said earlier at the start of this, have been a little bit iffy with the headlines, particularly the last couple of sessions, where we were seeing sort of like sources saying this and sources saying that, and it hasn't really turned out to be true. So look, if we have a look from a straight technical sort of point, there was a little bit of a rising resistance we're coming through here. Obviously, this little bit of fact that this is coming into effect could sort of just negate this sort of rising resistance through here. But again, if we come up into this sort of 108.80 area, this could just sort of be seen as a bit of an overthrow, and you may see a little bit of a push back down. I don't think you're going to see any major sort of sell back down, back through 107.70 areas till we hear something that negates this latest sort of bit of news. And we sort of hear that sort of like, hold on, wait, they've come to a resolution and tariffs aren't going to be put in or tariffs are going to be reduced, any of these sort of things. I think that's really what we're going to sort of see this US dollar move sort of cool down. But if you look at a broader sort of sense, you got this sort of large wedge that was sort of coming through here. It has broken. It's come back down. This little area where we've marked where the 108.80 is actually that breakdown area of that sort of rising support. So there is going to, again, be a little bit resistance up around this area here. So I don't think it's going to be enough, and again, because it's not a shock, I don't think it's going to be the thing that just gets it and runs it straight up here. But at the same time, I think we need some sort of catalyst because this has broken this structure here now, where the buyers are starting to move up, up, up. You need some sort of catalyst and a reason for them to go, okay, maybe we shouldn't keep buying this at such elevated levels. Because realistically, if you look at this entire move, it came back, just tested underneath the 23%. It didn't really get very far, didn't even get down to the 38. So this is still very much a bullish kind of pullback, and we could sort of be moving back towards, basically a double top, or dare I say even as a continuation. That we'll have to wait and see. But for the time being, I think gap up in the morning and then see how the market sort of digests stuff. I'm not really looking for too many downside targets here. I think mainly it's just sort of where we can sort of see this move up and then possibly just come back and maybe if it does get above over here, have a higher open, watch for it to sort of come back and see what happens as it comes back into this 108.46 kind of area where we can see this has been a previous level, obviously, and where we sort of stopped on the week now. See what happens when the buyers have another shot at this level. Do they allow it to go through, or do they go, great, that's another one, and bang, which would then obviously close the gap if it does gap up in the morning, and then make them sort of shoot off for another sort of push up to the top side. All right, so looking at gold, pretty much as you sort of said, coming into the weekend, look, you got the buyers coming here. They just consolidated this top here. Like Asia session has gone back to snooze fest. $5 ranges is what it used to do for a long time there. As you can see, here's your little range. It kind of broke out. It's interesting to see how it does react to this kind of data because, as I said, look, all in all, it's been sort of pricing in the idea that these tariffs were coming. Um, and obviously that momentum has just carried it out, made the all-time high sort of Thursday night, early Friday, and then as I said on that Friday video, just consolidating out the top here was definitely the idea that it was going to move back up here. Sort of get a breakout, sort of continue that move through there. Look, it had a decent enough, sort of if you call this just this little range, you're probably looking at sort of range extension completion up to the top side there. But really what we're sort of seeing at the moment is this kind of move through here, which is obviously all-time high breakout, find resistance, and then come back and see what happens down here. Obviously at the moment it's back into this little range. I want to see what happens and see it hold 27.80. Look, give it a little bit of room to breathe. Sorry, but look, because obviously shake out a few technical sort of positions in that. But I would say 27.84, just giving it a little bit of extra underneath this area here. I would want to see it hold this area because this to me is the big top side of your range or your sort of area, your previous highs prior to more recent ones. And this is obviously the market sold it down here. You want to see the exchange of this being a resistance now holding a support. If this comes back down and then sort of breaks back down under here, that then turns this, excuse me, into a false breakout. And it's obviously gone up, bang, sellers, bang, and then push back down. If you do get a deep pullback here, I don't think you're going to see the whole gold story turn around just because of this little move here being one sort of failed breakout. But I do think you may have to be a little bit cautious, particularly if you've been buying this breakout here, if you haven't taken your profits or moved your stops. If you start to get back down into this area here, you'd want to be sort of watching out sort of what's, whoops, might almost be time for a new keyboard. This thing's only like a year old. K2, I think they were. Shorty. Anyway, get rid of that. So yeah, if we start to move back down in here, if we see these buys get tested to sort of see, okay, we've got another shot here. Are they going to hold it? Because we saw this little breakout, tested them again. They shot off again, come down here. If you see them negated here, I think you'd best be sort of looking down around this sort of like, sort of mid 70s kind of level to see if you can get a bit of a bounce. But once you get down below here, I think you've got to be a little bit cautious with it all. So what I'll probably be looking to do, this isn't actually sort of forming up too well. Excuse me. Get rid of this one. Remove. Yeah, so look, honestly, actually, to tell you the truth, if this doesn't hold this sort of like sort of 80s level here, I think I'm just going to be sidelining it. I'm trying to work out a bit of a trade through here. You could be saying, yes, you're short up here, it's broken back down, failed breakout, coming down a bit lower. 100% could see this sort of playing out, but I do believe the fact that we put in this new all-time high and then pushed out to another new all-time high warrants the idea that sort of like, or deserves the idea that, look, we do have a lot more work to be done up around this area here. To me, this doesn't look like a top. This isn't the kind of thing that I expect to see, okay, yep, that's the top, and now we're going to see what happens from here. This one. So yeah, I think sort of wait to sort of see what happens down in these 80s and then sort of make a call from there. So nothing too exciting to report on gold here. I'm not really keen to buy it at the moment, but with all the sort of tariff stuff going in and obviously being so high, I would be keen to buy it if we could get back down a little bit lower, shake out a few of these positions here, people that bought these breakouts, let them sort of get smacked out of their positions, let them sort of start to tear up. And when they start to tear up, maybe that's when we buy and we start to get back in about sort of 2760s if we get an option for this. If we see a bit of a meltdown to these levels and then sort of come back up at the top over here. Up here, I feel it's just a little bit elevated. It's a little bit unsure with what's happening with the tariff situation. And I think we could get a better long entry sort of come down here. Yeah, because we are so sort of ultra bullish, I'm not keen to short this thing. So yeah, I think I'll just be holding for the time being. If you get under the 80s, look around these sort of 60s areas, and then maybe look for a bounce back up towards, retest of the highs. Okay, and silver. Got the breakout of that box. Keep putting on this chart. This is the wrong silver chart. This is the chart. I thought we would have got a little bit more of a reaction from this level. Obviously, it held for a bounce on the other way, but a double test underneath here. So really, it's just built itself a little range through this sort of top side here. Quite a sort of chunky range. But again, these headlines are just really throwing things around. So that's where you're probably playing with at the moment. I think a close underneath here, you want to see top side of this previous area, which I do believe it will. You want to see it hold. Generally with these things, with the breakouts and that, you'll get like the little breakout and the back, so the breakout and the little back test, which obviously we've seen here. It's on an hourly, but lower time frame, moved off. We'll get a bigger one with this as well on a higher time frame. So again, as you can see, coming down here, I still think two things. I think 32 is still worth a touch up through here, so to complete these bodies from back over here. But at the same time, if I get a shot to buy it at around 31, I'll be sort of looking for this retest to then bounce back up over here. But again, I think I'll just be holding off. A lot of this stuff seems a bit, see how things open up on Monday morning before I make too many calls. RSI is there to support a move, should it want to move up. But at the same time, it's moved up here. At the same time, it's still technically in a position of a negative divergence. But in saying that, if we do get back down to 31, shake out a few people, I think there's worth another effort to get back up and then possibly look to aim towards 32. Aussie just could not get out of its own way yet again, story of its life. So this is one I've been sort of, obviously I cover all the time. We had the retest of this area through here. Which is the sort of 61% of this, like sort of push off the lows, pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back here. If we get onto a lower time frame, that big wick, actually kind of a little bit of a move, but before it, this is the move that's happened when tariffs are about to be pushed off. I don't know exactly. It must have been through this period through here. And then they go, oh, hold on, wait, no, tariffs are still happening. And crunch. And this thing got absolutely hammered. Have a look on a smaller time frame. That's it, just there, off an absolute cliff. So this is 5 minutes. So within 5 minutes, went from 20 minutes, 55 to 11, lost 40 points in 5 minutes just on that. And then really sort of trying to hold, dribbled into close because I think a few people are a little bit cautious. So look, we've got some support around that sort of round number. I don't think that's enough. It's on 7 points. Oh, some crash outside. I'll be back. All right, I think I'm a bit jumpy. I've got sound cancelling headphones on. It sounded like a car crash. And no, it wasn't. It was a thunder, I think. So it's pretty hectic. Anyway, yeah. So look, I think this is way too close. I think we're going to gap open. I think we're probably going to gap around sort of probably around this 90s level. You really want to be holding 61.70, I would say, in the short term. Let's get on a more realistic time frame here. So on your 4 hour time frame here, and as you can see, this top wick here, it looks like, okay, here we go, bang, we're going to finally move somewhere, and then poof, right on the nose. The market, I told you, the market's favorite pastime is to sell Aussie. There's nothing really showing this to be doing too much. The fact that it's going to be enacted over the weekend, I mean, look, this was moving down. You had the buying pressure moving up, but as you can see, fired up to the top side here. So we never got that break under the low to get that sort of thing to target 61.70. But 61.70, I would say, is the level that you certainly want to see it hold. I could see this thing opening, as I said, with DXY gapping. So obviously US dollar buying across the market. I could see this thing gapping, like, 20 points possibly. Yeah, maybe a little bit less, but certainly gapping and opening below 62. And then a bit of a freak out, a little bit of a sell down, and then maybe a move back up. So I'm going to get rid of this just for now. But I would say that these are probably the three levels that I'd be mainly looking at. This, not so much 62. I think this would just be probably turn into a bit of a resistance. In fact, that's a round number as well. But I could see this thing gapping down maybe into 90s. Maybe I'm wishful thinking on that. And then maybe a little move up, test the round number, and then drive back down. But I think if you can buy it around this level and nothing's changed, I think this could be an area to sort of see, because you can see that the market loved it at this level previously. Question is, does it love it again at this level? Or is it just going to gap straight through it? Or is it going to run straight through it? Who knows? Look, there's a lot of support through here. Obviously, underneath 61.70, you're targeting 61.30s. And that's your major level. That's your major breakdown level. Obviously, a lot of damage. We've got a breakout here. We've got a retest at the breakout level, 61%. It tried to hold. It hasn't. It got smacked on the nose. So I'm really kind of just sort of looking what will be happening around these three levels down here. I think sort of if you want to sort of, like, I know it's people are probably going, why the hell are you sort of trying to buy the Aussie? But I still feel you got to sort of respect the fact that we did break this level. Is this a failed breakout? Well, underneath 61.30 it definitely is, but I would say even under 61.70. So under 61.70 is very much a low risk sort of bounce option, in my opinion. And I feel you may be able to sort of move around this area here. But we'll see how we go. Certainly, again, with these large gaps, it's just there's too much uncertainty on open. Do you buy it and then try and close the gap? Do you sell? And then, well, you should have been sort of shorting it on the weekend, coming into the end of the week. It's a bit hard to say, because obviously we've seen a couple of gaps that have just run away and then closed later. So there's a lot of questions around it at the moment and how the market's actually going to sort of react to it all. But certainly, like with DXY, I think we're going to be seeing a bit of a gap down on open with Aussie dollar. Copper tried to break out, came in and hit that horizontal just like we've seen it previously, and it's found itself some buys at this level over here. I don't know how this is going to react so much with this. We did see, if we get on a lower time frame here, this crazy little spike here, where they sort of said it, they're like, oh, I'm going to put, Trump sort of said, I'm going to put tariffs on copper as well. And so copper, crazy, and then back down. And I mean, how fast was this move? I mean, you know what I mean? This is the kind of stuff. It's like, oh, well, he said my number. He said my number. Sell, 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 sell. Bang, 1%. Within 6 minutes, up, down, bang, back. So, things are pretty just all over the place at the moment. It's really just a little bit of sort of potluck. I mean, keep the position smaller, stops wider. Okay, maybe you've got an idea. But really, we just got to see that US dollar sort of calm down a little bit from this sort of breakout move, which potentially could see a little bit more. But you would sort of think that, I mean, really mostly unaffected. Yes, it came off a little bit, but it wasn't any sort of drastic sell downs through that whole period when they were sort of talking tariffs. So I don't know how much or how sensitive copper is to it. So I guess, look, this is still the zones you're looking for. Drop it down a little bit more where we saw the buyers have finally sort of come in here. Get above this falling resistance. That's where you want to go. Above that most previous high. So, that sort of swing high sort of position is now. And then you're sort of targeting back up 447. If you break down under this bottom of this range down here, then, as I said, I think you're sort of moving down back towards this sort of 416 area. So we put this just down here. I think this is where you could kind of look for copper. I've been staying a little bit clear of copper recently, a couple little bits and pieces, but not too much. But that's kind of the trade that I'm looking for, kind of almost a smaller little range, this area here. Both of them looking like they'd sort of yield about the same. And finally, have a look at China. China, oh, Jesus, wow, look at this. Because China knows that it's coming up with tariffs. They said 10% against the 25 of Mexico and Canada, but we also sorry, but we also know that the tariffs are coming. Hence the sort of push up over here, and the fact that he's actually gone through with it is showing that okay, look, he is serious about it. So this is what I was saying the other day. We had this little bit of an inverted head and shoulders. Sort of playing out through here. There's a little thing going. One shoulder, two shoulder. That's your head. Albeit a little bit wonky, which, so again, based off what we did the other week, I'm not using the wicks in these measured moves with these anymore. I think it's better, obviously, to be a little bit safe than sorry. But this gives you a breakout, gives you a move back up to in this range over here. So if we see this play out and continue through, which as I said, I think we do see a bit of a gap with these things as they open, this would be pretty much your price target through here for your inverted head and shoulders. Again, this goes in line with what would be gapping Aussie down. So the zone's a price target. And then sort of see what happens there. I think obviously, look, tariffs are coming. They know that they're going to be implemented. It's a lot weaker than he did say originally. It was kind of like, they were talking 60%, all this kind of stuff, like 100% against brick. That was another thing, with Europe, 100% against Europe if they could move ahead with BRICS. And then the Kremlin comes out, no, we're not doing that at all. Whatever. Okay, so very interesting sort of time with it all at the moment. But so what we're sort of seeing here, obviously, as I said, inverted head and shoulders up to this area. This is an area that is very vital for the yuan and in turn for Aussie. If we see this level get popped and broken through here, and he does implement sort of higher tariffs, then you could see the yuan weaken a bit. I don't think we're going to see a repeat of 2016, but it's certainly something to sort of keep in mind. Again, similar, we got very close to the price target down here, not quite there, and then obviously it's ripped back up here. So this is why you take profits along the way. People sort of like say, why don't you sort of hold it all the way through? This is why. Because you call these moves, you get the nice breakdown, you get this, you get the drive all the way down, and then if you don't take anything through this period, well, what's the point? You watch it go down, you watch it go back up, bang. So that's no win for anybody. Anyway, so if we see it sort of back up into this area, and this is again why I kind of feel that, we may not be seeing major breaks as of yet, and we could see a gap and then maybe a bit of a move back, a completion of this little measured move back up into this range over here, and then maybe a little bit of a calming down and sort of a pull back down to this area down over here as well. Certainly a strong finish for all US dollar crosses for the week. So we'll have to sort of see how things sort of play out. Like you can say with the technicals, and this is why I've skimmed over things a little bit this week, because the technicals to a certain degree don't really mean too much. When you've got news and data coming out, particularly data, that changes the landscape. And with these sort of bits of news just flying out at any random time, it's the technicals take a back seat, and you just got to see where the move, like the sort of the trying to think of a better word than insanity, but the emotion. You can trade it till the emotion dies out, and they go, oh, scared, 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 scared. Okay, actually, hold on, wait, it's not that bad. Okay, so and it reverts back down. So, it's very much looking like things are just going to be bouncing in ranges for a while. Maybe when he does actually sort of implement something on China, because that was another thing he said, it 25% against Canada and Mexico, 10% against China, but not yet with China. I still think he wants to do a deal with China. So we'll have to sort of see how that happens. But I think until that happens, I don't think we're going to see a breakout of the yuan. Finally, have a little look over gold silver ratio. We had a nice little breakdown from resistance to negative D. Gotta love a negative D. It bounced off the top side of this previous resistance, which was pretty good, but had a little bear flag, and I was trading with a mate going, look, watch this one go, bang, dropped right down. And again, these are the things. Why don't you take profits? This is the kind of stuff, because it's just flying around, particularly at the moment, so much. So if we put a little area through here, that's 3 touches back into this area. And this is why I'm not fully giving up on metals at the moment, because I don't think we're about to sort of blow out this top end over here and see things completely sort of break apart. I think this gold silver ratio is very much, it's been chugging along, chugging along, chugging along, but it feels like these highs aren't major highs. It feels like this may want to just sort of do a little bit more of a rollover, come down over here. This will be interesting through this sort of rising support. But this is probably an area that we could be targeting if we do see a little bit of cooling down here. Certainly if you get up here, let's go direction, we're going to see some breakouts and some big breaks. But I would also say that down underneath this part of the zone, you come back down to test this rising support through here. I think that's going to be very important. And this will offer a bounce. So if you're in silver and we make the move down here, you get a pop on silver, take your profits, see what happens when it moves back. But I definitely expect a reaction once it does come back into contact with this rising support through here. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it on that front. Let's see if we got some news happening. NFP week this week as well. So again, another big week sort of coming up. Go on to Jan. This one here. So China is back Tuesday, is it? I think that might be them done. So on holiday again tomorrow. We've got Aussie retail sales expecting a little bit of a slowdown there. Look, it's hard to, it seems like a lot of these things I'm saying it's hard. Maybe it's because it's late at night. Hard to say on this one, just for the fact that it's pretty much looking like a guarantee or a solid bet that we're going to get the rate cut this month now. So a lot of that's already sort of priced in. I think weak numbers only sort of solidifies that. But of course, if you get a shock and you actually get a little bit of a stronger number, which I would say this, if this is reflecting sort of January, you're probably not going to see this. I think that sort of if you get a stronger number, it might sort of like help Aussie a little bit. But again, it's really just all up about the US at the moment and just what they're sort of going to do. Building approvals, again, slowing down. I'm not surprised with this being around local. Actually, no, sorry, what am I talking about? Slowing around negative 3.6 up to 0.9, so it's actually ticking up. But again, 0.9%, I'm still not surprised. So no, it's not particularly sort of strong numbers with it all. So we are seeing, okay, that actually improve a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit of confidence boosting in the market, and maybe this is with the idea that the rate cuts are sort of coming forward. People are sort of they're obviously still trying to push these things through, but there's a lot of red tape with Australia and things are very slow. Job advertisements, we got no sort of no forecasted number there. Got PMIs out of China, nothing expected there. I mean, higher, maybe a shock higher, might get a little bit of a strengthening of the yuan. The rest of this, nothing really sort of standing out. We've got CPI in Europe over here, and look, it's well into their range with it all. And that's pretty much it for the Monday. Through the rest of the week, we got ISM, we got JOLTS, looking like a little bit of a slowdown here. Employment data for New Zealand. Geez, they're ticking up a bit over here. I mean, all in all, it's probably not super high, but certainly higher than Australia, and we're at 4%, they're at 5.1. The higher they get over here, the more that's going to put pressure on New Zealand upside as well. Long, more Caxton stuff on this Wednesday there. ADP, very low numbers over here, 122. Expecting a tick up, 149. We got unemployment claims also ticking up, and then NFP expecting a little bit of a pushback down here. So this will be an interesting one because this was a big sort of blowout number. Actually, this is the one we wanted to see, wasn't it? It was a bit of a blowout number last month, forecasted at 164, comes in at 256. That's what really gave US dollar a bit of a oomph push up to the top side there. So it'll be interesting to see how corrected this number comes in, coming in on Friday. But certainly US dollar on the sort of potential rip here. Any sort of headlines that we sort of see with, tariffs, happy to talk it out and maybe we can reduce the tariffs. Reducing the tariffs is what you look for now to see a little bit of US dollar weakness. I think till we get sort of talk of that, I can't see too many other catalysts turning it around. All right, that's it from me.